Hello everyone, welcome to Celestine Expressive Healing Arts. I'm Cecilia Inez, here to discuss the new moon in Taurus, which is happening next week on Saturday, May 16th, I believe. I don't know how I forgot to mention this in the previous readings, in the monthly and in the full moon, but we have two full moons this month. We started with one right off the bat, like May 1st, and then we're ending with one on May 31st, which is I mean, it's pretty significant and amazing. Because we're starting and ending, so it's like kind of bookmarking this passage we're going through in this moon cycle. Astrologically, yeah, I don't know how I forgot to mention that. So the full moon's going to be in Sagittarius. We just had Pluto go into retrograde yesterday. And Pluto, I think, rules, right? I think it's connected to Scorpio, and it does rule the underworld and stuff like that. But it's a period for reviewing these changes that we're going through collectively, personally. We have a lot of Gemini and Aquarius energy running through, which is all about communication and technology and innovation. So there's a lot of societal changes that are going to be happening. So again, when a planet is retrograde, and it's retrograde in Aquarius, definitely going to be about all that personal power and just power dynamics in general. With this Knight of Swords, it's a great card about taking initiation, acting swiftly, making decisions swiftly, But it's also about not charging ahead just recklessly or impulsively. Taking our time to really to evaluate all the information, all the facts, to check in with ourselves before charging forward. Cloud. What is cloud? Cloud actually represents ritual. And I was thinking about this ritual. I'm like, how does that connect to the Knight of Swords? Because Knight of Swords, it's ambition, it's drive. But again, it could get very aggressive. So like your conviction can get too compulsive. So it's like finding balance. I think Two of Pentacles is here for that. And then Manta represents calibration. So calibrating and finding harmony and equilibrium and balance, right? As we charge ahead. Because then this also represents intellect, like intellectual pursuits of some sort. Because then swords again represents the mind, mental energy, anything to do with the mind. But I was thinking about rituals, right? Because what is a ritual? Anything can become a ritual. Conscious creation, right? You're creating something consciously, intentionally. Right, you're stopping to make space to do this ritual. What is the opposite of that? And then I thought, rituals versus habits. Of course, habits become rituals, right? When you do it repeatedly, because that's an act of devotion. But then habits, mostly the way I kind of interpret habits usually are unconscious. These habits are mostly unconscious. There's something else driving them. And so with ritual, how can we counteract that is by changing them to rituals, these conscious creative acts that we do every day. Act of self-love too, what I see what ritual is, and an act of connecting to something greater than us and kind of zooming out in order to allow all these other things to also permeate our consciousness and our lives. So that's beautiful. And then Eight of Cups with the Eagle card is also an interesting combination. It's like change, choose, but we're choosing to change. We're choosing to change. And I had said something in a previous reading that I wanted to correct. I think I said something about how we're living in very shallow times, and not everyone can go down into the deep depths of the underworld and the shadows and the psyche, that the unconscious. And it's not that. We all have the capacity for it. But we have to choose it. And it's not an easy choice. Change that we're choosing, because we have this new perspective. Because if you think of eagles, it's all about this vantage point of being able to see things differently now, and seeing again, allowing other sources of information and other ways of knowing to also permeate our consciousness so that we can see things from a new light. And then Two of Pentacles and Manta ray. This is again about balance and stability. So yes, it's about play. It has a playful energy that connects to the Fool and the Star card, I think. But it's about, yes, like play. There's this playful, you know, energy around finding harmony. But it's like also creating a foundation, again, before we charge forward with our plans, because this is also about like plans and getting organized. You know, yes, like having our, you know, our heads in the clouds and allowing ourselves to daydream and be spontaneous and playful and imaginative and all those things, but then grounding it into this more stable energy. Fool and the Star said it's divine guidance and this spontaneous, like spontaneous youthful energy it's available to us now. And then with the Sea Urchin and the World, I know that the World represents like a completion. It's usually karmic, like there's this karmic cycle has completed and we're starting a new cycle. And I know I've been talking about that for a bit now. So it's kind of reiterating that. And Sea Urchin, I've never pulled this card before. Protection. Ooh, interesting. So the World and protection, feeling safe. And then this completion, end of a cycle card. Yeah, we'll dive deep into it, the psychology of all of this. This is the central situation, state of mind we're in, lesson that we're going through right now. And then this is the recent past and the near future. These external events, right, that are probably part of this situation or that's impacting us right now, and what's ahead of us based on the choices that we make, right? And then this is what's above us, above the situation. This is what's conscious to us, what's known. And then what's below us is what's under the surface, right? The unconscious, what we're not aware of, the subconscious that's impacting the situation or our state of mind or being as well. 8 of Cups. In traditional tarot, you see the figure walking away from all these cups. And here they have a bird flying away from these cups. Why would this person or this beautiful bird fly away from all these cups that are available to them? But it's because, as enticing as it may seem, it's unfulfilling. There's something around this situation that we're realizing is not aligned with who we are now. And so we're walking away from something. It could be something literal, like a relationship, a person, a situation, a place. It could also be more internal, walking away from a way of being and thinking. That could be possible too. So a door is closing, a chapter has ended. We know this now, the door has closed. And knowing with all our hearts, deep in our bones, that we cannot continue in the way we have, right? Knowing what we know now. We know now, doing all the shadow work. Last week was super intense. It's been so intense after that full moon in Scorpio. Oof. But I will definitely plug in the full moon reading and the monthly reading in the description. You could check out that because I feel it definitely connects to this reading. They're all intertwined. But there could be some fear and hesitation. I think that came up in the full moon reading. This is a very decisive moment for us, right? Because we have to choose change instead of remaining in the same unfulfilling life and living our lives in the same unfulfilling kind of way. Because we also got like that feeling of being stuck, right? The stalemate that's come up too recently. And so it's like getting out of this stuckness that we've been in because of hesitation and maybe fearing that we're not ready, but we are. And again, it's been this slow delayed arrival to this new cycle that we've wanted for so long. But again, we're having to get used to this new energy. like really live it, like embodied, and let it feel safe and feel, you know, familiar in our bodies, because we've been used to something else for so long. So this is going to propel us to into unexplored territory. It's connected with the ego, which is all about perspective. It's about perspective, but it's also about expanding our perception beyond our senses, beyond our five senses, beyond our own, beyond duality, beyond our own biases and judgments, and not only with intellect, but with our instinct, right? With this more primal way of knowing things, intuitive way of knowing things, and connecting to a higher source of information, like divinity. Like this is a way, this is a tool that we can, again, explore and dive into self-discovery and exploration and stuff like that. And so keeping an open mind and letting, allowing for each moment and every aspect of ourselves to be informed by this instinct, but also by allowing ourselves in the moment its full expression. And so if we go into things already with our own judgments and our own opinions and our own, you know, layering it with our own expectations, references, then we're not able to have this ego perspective, like this wide, expansive vantage point of seeing all the different aspects that are all unfolding right in front of our eyes, that could really help us and maybe assist us in knowing, as we walk away from this old life, knowing which direction to go, what are the best choices for us to make that are truly aligned to who we are and where we find ourselves now in this moment in time. So horizontally, these are having to do more with external events or external influences. Up here on the left side, we have these external events or situations or factors that are influencing our current situation. So this is usually things we don't really have control over. Definitely use our will, our free will, so we can influence these external factors, but from a more conscious internal place, which I'll get into, because cloud, it represents ritual, right? And not just acting from habit, from like impulse. Also represent the recent past, which we could look at as well when we're reading the meaning of Knight of Swords. So Knight of Swords in this deck represents seizing the day. And so yes, this is about, like, recently we did, as I was saying, decide to go beyond this threshold into the unknown. Although we're still hesitant, there's a part of us that's still kind of like landing in this new cycle. But because of this tension in the recent past, this external factor, we've been able to do that, to seize the day and to move, to make these decisive choices and act on them. But what it's warning, it's also forewarning about not acting in this rash, impulsive way, right? This just charging ahead, because this card also is very dynamic. It has a lot of energy behind it. But maybe, as I was saying, it's more about the energy that we were able to connect to because of this catalyzing moment. Whatever this tension was, there was this tension, this catalyst that happened, this inner or like outer conflict that put this pressure for us to seize the moment and to just make this decision for change, right? Like, this is it, enough is enough, and I'm moving forward. I'm walking away from this old way of being, this old life, this unfulfilling job, you know, where I'm living, or this relationship that's, you know, that I've outgrown, or we're just not aligned anymore. And so definitely we've seized the moment with the Knight of Swords. It's also more connected to the intellect, because the sword represents our intellect and us cutting through any obstructions, any limitations that were preventing us from charging forward, from moving forward and walking away. And connecting to this new perspective of seeing things, right? And not staying small, not looking at things from this, again, from the same limiting way that we've always known, and expanding ourselves and opening ourselves up to other sources of information and influences and inspiration. So it has to do with the mind. So it could be about higher learning. It could be about pursuing some sort of learning opportunity, apprenticeship. Maybe that's what was the catalyst for us. And I want to read the cloud because it's just, they describe it beautifully. It says, your cloud invites you to create magic through ritual. You can quickly usher the change you desire by designing daily and monthly ceremonies that evoke the visions you hold for your life. Right? So I was talking in the opening, what's the difference between ritual and habits? Right? Habits, I was saying, are more unconscious. Right? Habits are automatic, they're unconscious behavior, mostly aimed at efficiency, right? That's the control that we have to let go of wanting to, things to be a particular way. And it's actually propelled by this unconscious reasoning that we're not even aware of, right? Again, this old programming, this old conditioning. While rituals are intentional, right? They're intentional, they're meaningful, they're deliberate actions that we're taking that are focused on purpose. And we have to think, right? Instead of charging ahead with this great idea and like we get this like spark of energy and inspiration, and then we're just like blindly going forward without really knowing why are we doing this? Like, what's the why behind this? What's the purpose? What is our vision? What is our intention? Choosing change for ourselves and actually implementing these ideas from this new higher perspective and from this new dedicated devotion through our rituals, through our intentional choices. This connects beautifully with the astrology. This card is connected to air, so it's connected to Gemini and Aquarius. And we have a lot of Gemini transits right now, and Pluto just went into Aquarius yesterday, which was May 6th. So again, Pluto slowing us down when the planet is retrograde to review. So we're kind of reviewing again, right? As we made this choice to walk away, to start over this new cycle, to review again, why are we doing this? What got me here, right? So now we're on the right? And this is where things are headed, right? This is the near future, what's likely gonna come into this frame, right? This current situation. It hasn't happened yet. Yes, there's like collective themes and energy running through all of our lives, but then we have to think of our own positionality in life, right? Whether that be economically, socially, emotionally, what we're dealing with, right? Where we live, our environment. So many different things, where we are in our own spiritual or emotional development. Different circumstances, everyone's dealing with different things, right? So considering all those things, this is again a general collective reading, and you have to kind of zone into your own circumstances and situation to see how this is impacting you. And so, Two of Pentacles, it says your harmony and play. It's considered, yes, harmony, bringing something into balance, but also having like this playful approach about it. So it doesn't feel like a chore. It doesn't feel like this like this like mundane routine or habit that we're used to, and like infusing that, however we go out, seek out harmony and balance, and however we seek out to create this stable foundation, it's like make it playful as well. Instead of seeing it more of an obligation, again, it's this conscious choice that we're making for ourselves because we believe in it, and it's coming out from a place of love and devotion, and like, this is it, this is what I want, this is what feels right to me now, this is what's aligning, this is what my heart is calling for, my soul is calling for and guiding me towards. And so into this Fool energy, which is all about, yes, spontaneity and playfulness and adventure. So it's like we're on this adventure. See it as an adventure that we're going through. Because what I noticed in this card is the infinity symbol, a symbol that represents unbroken flow of energy that moves through us, right, through our own lives, but all of life. It represents consciousness. Again, there's this emphasis on raising our consciousness, becoming aware, realizing what our purpose is, why we create, why are we making these choices. I was saying about having this more expanded view, this global view. It's like knowing how everything impacts something else, right? And each choice we make is going to impact someone, something else within our lives. And it also represents just the natural balance of polarities, of duality, right? Life and death, masculine and feminine, night and day. It symbolizes infinite potential, rebirth, and balance. So even in this unknown territory we find ourselves in, right? As we move away from the old and venture into the new, it's like, instead of being afraid of the unknown, you can see the unknown as just being filled with infinite possibility and potential. And it is like a rebirth. It is a rebirth. It's an ancient Egyptian symbol representing the endless cycle of life and death. And then it says here, this becomes a circle that suggests a completeness in oneself, which I feel connects to the World card. Here you have a mandala, and that is kind of a similar symbol, right? The circle, the cycles. One cycle ending, a new one beginning. So you see it, yeah, you see it in the unknown, in the subconscious, what's below us, which is interesting. But so even though this is the near future, I feel like this is like giving us guidance on how to walk towards the future, how to move towards the future. So it's like moving through it with this point of balance between opposites. The forces in your life can knock you off kilter at this time unless you convert that push and pull into a dance or a game. So that's the playfulness I was talking about, right? A whimsical, fun approach will see you through this time with grace and harmony. It's like finding grace. And also like going with the flow of energy, right? It says here, calibrating our life force to experience more ease and grace, which is incredible because that's what calibration is. That's what the Manta ray is. It goes perfectly with the Two of Pentacles. Manta ray is, illustrates the importance of calibrating your life force so that you can experience more ease, grace, and freedom through the depths and surfaces of life. Release anything that is draining your energy. Practice unconditional self-respect. These efforts will allow you to align with the natural flow and rhythm of life. This is what I feel is we're being guided to do, to just go with the natural flow of life, to honor our own rhythm, our own natural pace and rhythm, and how things are unfolding, to trust the process. Aligning with the natural flow and rhythm of life so that your time and energy are efficiently spent and you are more available for play and fun. So there is also something around making more time for play and fun. Yes, charging ahead and getting down to business and getting organized and implementing these plans and this vision that you have, but also with the intention of making more space for fun and play, right? And finding this balance of within the quality of your life. Like, this is about the quality of your life, and it has to do with longevity and sustainability and consistency. And finding that balance of, yes, taking your purpose, taking your vision seriously, taking maybe yourself, your craft seriously, your talents, your skills seriously, but also infusing it with some play and fun from this, again, this ego perspective of like detachment. Maybe that's where the sword energy is coming from, this air energy, because intellect, there is this level of detachment when you think of mental energy, like the intellect and the, you know, rational linear way of thinking. It is a little bit more practical and a little bit more linear, and it's a little bit more, but then it's like, again, this pendulum swinging where you don't want to get caught up too much to the left and too much to the right, to these extremes, and find your center. And right here in the center, what we have is cups, which is all about emotion. It's about emotion. It's like the heart of the matter, the heart of what is true within ourselves and in our lives. And the bird, I just realized, is flying towards the full moon. So I almost feel like something around the second full moon at the end of the month is going to have, this is connected to that full moon in Sagittarius as well. This line here, so when we're looking at it vertically, this is more about internal forces, right? This was external factors, forces, events, situations, and this is more internal. And so this identifies inner factors. Now on the bottom, this is the state of things under the surface, right? There's a lot of deep emotion here, right? Because we're also talking about what's under the surface, which has to do with emotions and the unconscious, subconscious. It's internal. It's like an internal foundation first and foremost, before we start even considering all the other external factors that we need to implement in order to support that internal shift. Right? Let's start with the World card. It's a major arcana card. We got two major arcanas here in very significant places, right? The conscious and the unconscious, which I think is fabulous. And it's vertical, so it's more about, again, our internal state and what we're having to shift within our internal state. And so with the World card, this is definitely pointing to this karmic cycle that's been completed. It represents completion, this culmination point, right? This maybe we've mastered something has become clear to us, and we've been able to act on that now instead of staying stuck in these repetitive loop cycles, right? That's become unlivable, unbearable, unsustainable for us. And then so shifting that energy, mastery, triumph, but again, as I said, hesitation. And I love the little quote at the beginning. It says, climb the peak up to the sky, then step into the air and fly. The reason I love that is because it mimics this, right? Flying away, walking away from this, and then it's like, climb the peak up to the sky and then step into the air and fly. So it's like believing that, which goes with the Fool card, because in traditional tarot, the images of this fool hanging from a cliff, stepping off a cliff, like he believes that he's gonna fly, that he's gonna be sustained and held. But so I feel like that's definitely what we're working towards. On your journey to the peak of your ability, you might be conquering a major task in your work or in your creative life. Card can suggest an anticlimax. That's interesting. Your need to overcome hesitation and inability to complete the journey. There is this level of hesitation still. So maybe this is also, it's like, yes, this cycle has completed, but don't worry, don't be afraid, don't hesitate any longer, you know. Trust the natural cycles of things, the natural rhythm and timing of things, and just go with it, you know. Try to align to this flow state. World is a card of opposites balanced. What were we talking about here? Balancing of opposites, of polarities. Every peak we reach is just one stepping stone on the journey. After mastery, the problem becomes, how do I get beyond mastery, right? How do I get beyond this point and this point and this point, right? So that we can expand our consciousness. So it's this unification too, right? Within this balancing, this integration that we've been talking about. I love that. And now sea urchin, which I've never pulled before, means protection. It says here, as an ancient amulet of protection, she resurrects a sense of safety by dispelling negativity and clearing blockages to better strengthen a connection to source. Sea Urchin is here to let you know that there are protective forces surrounding you, unseen but completely real. So again, there's this has been coming through in a lot of the readings, of this protective force within our lives, unseen forces in our lives. So divine intervention, divine timing. And I think that connects to this idea of letting go of control, right? In order to allow other guidance, other support, forms of support and knowing and intelligence to come through to help us. And that includes the spirit realm, you know, the metaphysical, the unconscious. Your guardians are most effective at their job, however, when you establish clear lines of communication. So it's about, again, maybe that could be part of this ritual where it's like you have to, yes, nurture that relationship. Nurture your relationship to the unseen, to the magical, to the mystical. And how do you do that? Through ritual, right? Intention. Carving out time to sustain those lines of communication, to honor them in whatever way you decide, you know, offering something up to them. Maybe you infusing your life with purpose and intention and fulfilling your vision, fulfilling that is an honoring of your ancestors and the people, you know, that made it possible for you to even be here, those souls that came before you. Open up to other divine ways of support and establish those clear lines of communication. You will need to ask for the guidance that will always ensure you are in the right place at the right time. Curious, let's see what's here. Ooh, Venom came out again. That's crazy, Venom. The Mirror. Okay. Oh, we've gotten this card too. Anima Mundi. And the Flame. I feel like these go really well with this last pair that we're going to read right now. Star card. Star card in this deck is different from the star card, a bit different from the star card in the tarot deck. And here it says it's divine guidance. Star appears when the path is obscured and need a nudge in the right direction. I don't feel like our path is obscured because, again, we had the Knight of Swords that came with the sword to cut any obstructions. Yet there is hesitancy, right? There is this little bit of fear and hesitancy. So maybe that's the nudge we need. So when you ask for guidance, the universe will certainly answer. Again, it's telling us to connect to this guidance, right? We were talking about protection, the sea urchin, and like honoring and really committing to nurturing that line of communication with whatever that unseen force is in our lives, whether now about anchoring into these rituals and definitely devoting part of our life to that, integrating it into our life, asking for guidance, letting go of some control and trusting the flow of things, divine timing, and seeing it from this, again, this more innocent, playful perspective. Spend time under the stars at night and let them remind you that you are a beloved member of the cosmos, one who shines among many. Beautiful. Listen and look for clues that are offered. There is always a way through. When we talk about this expansion of perspective, I think it's that too, opening ourselves up to these different messages that we can get. It says here, listen and look for the clues that are offered. Fool is a youth starting out on a journey. So the card suggests that there could be a launch of a new venture, a career. This connects to the central theme of the spread, right? We were saying walking away from something and starting a new cycle, starting something new. So a new venture, a career, a relationship. You don't want to fool yourself, since trouble might come if you step unprepared. Yet the adventure is how you grow. So again, I think that's connected to this balancing, right? Not going to extremes. yes, charging forward, believing in your vision, but also taking practical steps, you know, asking for guidance and support in other ways along the way. It could be a path to grace and a spiritual journey. That could be also what's starting now. It could be more of a spiritual journey for some versus career versus a specific, you know, relationship. It's more about your own relationship with yourself. The Fool has a childlike innocence that remains even as we grow older. That's something I wanted to mention. Yes, there's this youthful energy here, but it's not about like glorifying a youth, you know, because we all also grow and we age, and inevitably, as we talk about the cycles of life, we will transcend. But it's also about that. It's about like we still have that childlike essence and quality always with us forever, even as we grow older. So I feel like it's more of an energetic thing, again, a perspective thing, a mindset thing. Of course, we have to honor our limitations as we get older, but it's also about not losing that spark, not losing that aliveness. Just because we're older doesn't mean that we're still alive, you know, and to still connect to that aliveness, that enthusiasm for life. If you're not happy with where you are in life, the Fool's power is to help you change as easily as changing your clothes. So again, it's emphasizing this doing things with more ease, right? Honoring the natural rhythms and cycles of your own life, of your own body, of your own, you know, of your own life force. This again, there's this balancing. Taking this new cycle, your vision seriously, but not taking yourself so seriously. It's this constant dance we're doing, in and out, up and down, round and round. The Fool shares the artist's ability to see things with clear-eyed, childlike vision. So thus the bird lifting from her head, yeah, if you see here, there's a bird on her head. It says here that symbolizes unlimited imagination, because the bird's on her head, right, pointing up to the open sky. So it's like, again, I feel like it connects to this infinity symbol of connecting to this ever-flowing like life force that's running through us and everything, all of life. But one last thing I want to say is that it's also, again, a forewarning. We've gotten a few forewarnings in this spread. And this is like, yes, again, it's great to, you know, daydream, have your head in the clouds and, you know, be hopeful and like spontaneous and in the moment and all those things. But it's also like, but also have awareness. Like, because she's unaware of the dangers that surround her. There's a serpent here on the ground and she's like oblivious to it. So it says here, she's unaware of the dangers such as the snake coiled at her feet. Part of that danger can come from the inside, since the darker side of the Fool can be apathy or vanity. So apathy is like losing, like not really being indifferent, like nothing really matters, kind of. Is it nihilistic? Nah. Could be, that could be the extreme of it, but you know, like, oh, whatever, everything's whatever, like nothing really moving you, you know, kind of going through the motions. But we're breaking out of that. So it's like, so we're doing like, as we start letting go of the hesitation, we're also calibrating. We're having this moment to pause and review, recalibrate, solidify our foundation, get clear on our vision, and make space for more spontaneous, playful, you know, energy to come through. And also there's something around connecting to ritual and to the unseen, and bringing more of this like magical, mystical, intangible energy into our lives. And the anima mundi, which means the soul of the world, but this is indicating an initiation. So we have been undergoing an initiation. As I said, there is this our overarching idea of going through this journey, spiritual journey, psychological, inner journey. And so this is indicating that there's that initiation. It's right next to the Fool, because the Fool's the one that's starting off on this journey, right? This is the beginning of the narrative of the tarot, which is us on this journey, right? Starting out as the Fool, going through all these different stages. And so that's the initiation. And then the Flame, it represents mental clarity. So this is us. I feel like this is connected to this Knight of Swords and Clouds card. We've gotten clarity through this conflict, right? Through this tension, this catalytic moment. And then our Fire, we got that clarity of what we needed to do, right? And also probably ignited that internal flame for us, that spark, to take action. The Venom came up recently in another reading. I can't remember when. But I was talking about the idea of the poison being the medicine. So I think this again connects to this conflict we just got over. And that helping us, right, come to this self-realization. But it had to be done through suffering, through some loss, right, through some grief. But it's what propelled us to walk away, right, and to move towards this unknown place that's encouraging us to expand our perspective and our understanding of ourselves and reality. And we're almost like seeing it now from this more innocent perspective, like this beginner's mind, right? Which does connect to the Flame, right? It definitely connects to the Flame. And even the Star, right? If you think of flame and light, and the Star is also a source of light. And we have the Moon showing up here a lot. The full moon here, you have the full moon here, you have the full moon inside the mouth of this creature, this scary. So again, I think there's something that's gonna happen between this new moon and the last full moon, or as we get closer to the full moon, or maybe after. And I wanted to also note that a lot these readings are timeless too, right? Time is fluid. I don't see it linearly. Time is definitely fluid, and everything bleeds into everything else. This self-realization that ignited this flame, that put us on this new path of initiation. And then with the Mirror card, the Mirror card means reflection, the illusion, the looking glass. It's talking about witnessing ourselves from a deeper perspective, right? Being deeper, seeing all the deeper layers, not staying only on the surface of things. And so this mirror maybe is reflecting that, allowing us to really look at ourselves with more depth. It says pure awareness too. So again, there's something around our consciousness. Maybe our consciousness has expanded through going through this, challenging time, through this suffering, through this loss. And then again, Venom is also connected to the world because of this karmic cycle that we just ended. But we're protected. And this is serving a purpose, towards our healing. All right, I think that's good, folks. Happy new moon. Wishing you all some beautiful, tender, nurturing energy right now. We could all use it.